Oh, come on. Well, hello, friends. Glad you could join us. Welcome to the sixth round of the Division 2 season. Well, hang on. I didn't even check and make sure that my microphone input was on correctly, which it is. Okay. Welcome to the sixth round of this Division 2 season here in the Midwest F1 League. Tonight we're at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg, Austria, formerly the Österreich Ring, but what should be a fantastic race this. Always one of my favorite tracks to visit on schedule, always one that provides a lot of great racing, and even if we do have a little bit lesser end on the numbers, it still should be pretty fun, but if it is one of those races tonight where, even because we're on the lower end of the numbers, might be a little bit more subdued, might be more of like a kind of a just chill type cast this, I think sim racing in general hurts a lot these days, and I think that, sometimes it gets a little difficult to cast these lower amount of car sessions, but, either way, we're going to give it our best shot, and we're going to have some fun here. And I'm hoping that our 13 cars, which are on track, do put together some fun moments here. At this circuit, one of the shortest on the F1 schedule, only the 10 corners then. Only, I think, there are corner names to the circuit. Now, I typically like to be a little bit more proper and, try to memorize the corner names as much as we can. So let's go through them. I have them written down here somewhere, I'm sure. Or at least I thought I did. I absolutely did at some point in time, but it's not appearing on my phone. Anyways, looks like the McLaren, it's going to be that of Damn Sam, is going to be the first driver out on track. While we have a minute, let's go through our driver and constructor standings through this rate in the season. Before we do that, we've got a ping here from Brian Mosser. We've got ourselves a dry qualifying and dry race. So no threat of weather. It's going to be absolutely down to the pure driving talents of these drivers on the grid today. But while we have a minute, let's go through the Drivers and Constructors Championship. After round number 5 in Australia, Dusty Lusky with the championship lead at 167 points. Matter of fact, the two Red Bulls tied at 128 apiece. Gavin Slayerized, neither of which appear to be on the grid tonight. Noganator fourth at 125. The pair of the... I want to say, are those the... not... Which team are those? It must be the V-Carbs. The V-Carbs tied not tied, 102 and 101 points. Cam Tizzle trails his teammate at Knuckles by that 1 point. Damn Sam actually tied for that sixth position alongside with Cam Tizzle. Brian Mosser 8th, Frenchie 9th, and Anbu Mason 10th. Those are your top 10 in the Drivers' Championship. As far as the Constructors are concerned, Red Bull leads the way at 256, Alpine 209. Kind of a lock up there on the way into the corner from Damn Sam. He's starting a time lap now. McLaren 3rd, Aston 4th, V-Carb 5th, Haas 6th, Williams 7th, 8th is the Saubers, 9th is the Mercedes. And rounding up the 10 constructors are the Ferrari through the Niki Lauda first corner. And then up the hill. In through what is actually a second corner. This is labeled as the second corner. Up now into what is turn 3. It's very tight, right-handed corner. This kind of uphill. Difficult to get back out on throttle after it. Down the hill, heading in towards turn 4. You may see some overtakes here. It's not going to be as common as, you know, some of the other DRS sections, but sometimes you do see moves be made there, and usually they'll be set up brilliantly for that turn 5, and then 6, and eventually 7 coming up after this. Here's turn 6, turn 7 after that, which usually this transition from turn 7 to 8 can sometimes catch drivers out by surprise, usually that curve on the inside of the corner. Turn 9 coming up now. Oh, he's actually taken a little bit too much curb on the inside of there at turn 9. That car's gone a little bit sideways, but he's held it through 9 and 10. Lap keeps together, 105.225. That's a good lap there from Damn Sam. I'm not sure if that's going to be one of the better laps that we do see, but it is at least definitely one on the board, as we've got the Haas behind him of Electric Blade actually starting one now. He's already invalidated. Potentially was that a this and next, or was that going through... turn 1, has he biffed that one? I think may have been a this and next. I could be wrong. So Damn Sam top of the table, Brian Mosser second, about 9, well, that's funny. It's actually going to be King Pro Player 7 in the Ferrari, 104.953, and he's on the mediums as well. That's a very good lap there, despite being on the medium tires as well. Good to see somebody getting a use out of him, especially in the qualifying session. You know, not always do we see, you know, drivers actually kind of be in that same sort of thing, and they, you know, usually they'll have enough tires just to go soft throughout the entirety of the session and call it good. Next on the line, Brian Mosser. Well, it is Damn Sam into the pit lane, but we do have the Haas of Electric Blade, who is going to be back on his way in here. We've got the Sauber of Adel Tony into the line. I believe he's actually going to have a pretty good lap here, 106.027. Gets himself 4th. Cam Tizzle up to 3rd, a clean 3/10 off the pole time. Andrew Mason has put himself 4th. He's about 3.5 tenths behind Cam Tizzle. Next up is the other Sauber, Frenchie, who's just crossed the line. He's actually improved by a good number then, about 7/10 of a second, but stays currently the slowest of the completed timed attempts. Knuckles now on the time lap, going through the Niki Lauda corner and then up the hill through what is now turn 2. This is the chicane they've added for MotoGP right there. I think it's actually quite a fun chicane. Up through what is a Remus corner, turn number 3. Exits turn 3 well, DRS activated, down the hill heading towards what is Schlossgold turn 4. I don't really know what the meaning is behind that. Turn 4, turn 5 coming up here. He's taking a lot of curb on the outside. That probably hasn't helped him that much. What is Roche turn 5? Turn 6. Worth turn 7. Exits turn 8 nicely into the Jacques Rindt corner, the only posthumous Formula 1 champion. Claimed the 1970 F1 championship after, well, he crashed in Monza on that year in September, and his championship competitors could not make up enough points to beat him, despite having passed at the Italian Grand Prix weekend, and did end up still winning the 1970 championship. I would think probably aside from Niki Lauda, you know, I would think probably more widely considered the best Austrian driver. I think Niki Lauda, in my opinion, topples him, but Jacques Rindt definitely one of the godfathers of Austrian motor racing, as Knuckles spins it round, getting on the throttle, exiting turn number 3, bins it against the barriers there. He's kept the front wing on, he's kept all 4 wheels attached, but yeah, not too helpful. We've got Josh Senior on an outlap. He's making his way down the hill, heading into turn 4. We've got the V-carb of Cam Tizzle, into the pit lane now. So I believe the next driver actually out on a flyer is going to be that of Brett Drives Fast, making his way into turn 6 now, as Frenchie has actually retired. This is coming out of turn number 5. That's a very odd place to have gone off then, but that car is against the barriers on the inside, and that's his day done, at least for qualifying. And I tell you what, he has not put together a lap I would consider good enough to stay in the top 10, really. 1.2 off the pace now. I'm assuming Brett Drives Fast putting together a good one here. Yep, he's gone 6th, about 9/10 off the pole time set by King Pro in the Ferrari. Damn Sam coming back out on an outlap now. We've got Josh Senior on an outlap. As I've mentioned, we've got Gab in the Red Bull as well. Let's go along with the Ferrari as he goes up the hill through the Niki Lauda corner. Yeah, handles it very cleanly. I don't think there's anything to say with that. I think he's actually maybe gone a little bit slow there. He's taking it slightly carefully, it seems. But up the hill, heading in towards turn 3. Purple Sector 1 for him, naturally. Again, really clean getting on throttle. Just a little concerned that he's not kind of sending it enough to get a good time on the board. He's kind of easing his way out of these corners, but he's looking to get a time on there. That's what you want. Still got 10 minutes in the session. There's no need to panic for the time being. So 106.150 for Josh Sr. gets himself ninth at the moment, about 13 one-thousandths behind Brian Mosser. Again, probably going to have to put together another attempt there, but not bad for the time being. Let's see, who do we have coming around the final corner now? We've got Adeltonian. Oh, interesting. So we've got Adeltonian, and I think was that Damn Sam actually right behind him. Damn Sam's improved by about a tenth and a half, but goodness me, has Adeltonian actually kind of gotten in his way there? That was very close between the two coming out of the final corner. I think that may have actually slightly hindered him there a little bit. I don't know if that's actually the case, but we do know Adeltonian's starting one now is slower by about 3 100ths going up the hill through turn number 3. Damn Sam is now obviously slower. This is going to be his cooldown lap for him. But, yeah, that was really interesting. It was... You kind of had to really look for it there. I think that could even, you know, warrant a steward report coming up later on, just because of the fact it has actually, I would think, significantly impacted his time lap then. Yeah, it's a tough call. It's a tough call. I don't really know what to think there. Well, Adeltonian either way making his way now through turn 8. He's heading into the Jacques and Rindt corner, turn number 9, on what may be a better lap. I think if I looked correctly there, he went purple sector 2, but it's going to depend on how he handles his final corner. Definitely expect track limits to come into play today as well. Adeltonian, the line does improve. Improves by 0.3 of a second there, 105, 174, I believe that said. Gets himself within striking distance of the front 2 rows. He needs about 0.2 to get around Anbu Mason, but what is that? 5/10 between Knuckles and Anbu Mason. That's a pretty close. That's a pretty close gap there. I tell you what. At the moment, the V-Carbs have a locked out second row with Cam Tizzle ahead of Knuckles by an even 0.3 of a second there. King Pro Player now out on the soft tires, currently sitting still on his 104.953. Has Damn Sam by about a tenth and a half. Pretty good. Knuckles now starting another timed attempt here, up the hill going through turn number 1, the Niki Lauda corner. DRS activated, making his way now up the hill, past the MotoGP chicane, and into the corner. About a tenth. Oh, well, I tell you what, I was going to say about a tenth and a half quicker there through Sector 1. He's had a bit of a tank slapper. Oh, and heavy into the wall. And that will be the end of the day for our Canadian firefighter friend. Yikes, that was a big hit as well. I don't know what happened there necessarily. He kind of just went, well, in the, what do you call it? In the motocross side of the world, we'll call that a bit of a whiskey throttle. Gets a little bit too confident coming out of it, smacks the throttle, and into the wall. Electric Blade somehow keeps this lap going despite going wide at a turn 10. He'll actually go up to third, 105.152. Improves by half a second, I believe that said. Now gets himself within 0.2 of King Pro Player, who King Pro Player apparently has made a bit of a hash coming out of turn number 3 there. 6 minutes to go. Despite having gone purple sector 1, that car has had a bit of a slide coming out of turn 3 and now makes his way down the hill through turn 4. This is not going to be a lap to look out here for the Ferrari in question. We do have the Alpine of Brett Drives Fast, who I believe might be on a flyer here. Well, I'm not too sure. Doesn't appear to be that way. And we'll see where he's at through Sector 1 here, and then we'll make our assumption. Yeah, he is slower by about 0.8 of a second, so that's not going to be the one to look out for necessarily. King Pro player. Apparently, does that still say a tenth and a half better through Sector 2? DRS activated and across the line. He has still improved. 104.909. He's improved by 4/100ths of a second, so even despite that visible mistake that he made coming out of turn 3, he's actually still improved by just a little bit. That's good, but I'm afraid has he now wasted a set of these tires with that lap? You know, again, he got too heavy on the throttle coming out of turn 3 at a noticeable moment. He has still improved, but now, is he running out of time? Does he put on a new set of tires and call it good? Because, you know, we've got 4 minutes 50 remaining in the session. Say a safety car, God forbid, comes out on track here. We're going to see soft tires maybe in play, maybe even to start the race. It's a good question. I think it's one he'll have to think about. Cam Tissel making his way into the Jacques Rindt corner now. About ready to start another timed attempt here. Probably his penultimate timed attempt of the session. I think these drivers will have maybe one more after this current one that they're on. Damn Sim is making his way out on track as well. He's got about 0.2 to make up to get round to the Ferrari of King Pro player. That one, it's a bit of a tall ask, this, because I'm not too sure where you can actually make up time on this circuit. Maybe, is it really just how well you take Sector 2? You know, turn 3 is important. Cam Tissel already better by nearly 0.3 of a second, so maybe is it just turn 1? Gab has gone 104.721, gets King Pro player by nearly 0.2 of a second there. You know, is it just the slow speed corners and the entries and the exits that you really have to nail in order to get a good time around the circuit? Because everything else is just setup based, I would think. You know, how early you're getting on throttle, how well you're able to hit, you know, take the car through the corners, how smooth your cornering is. That's got to be the real question. Cam Tissel, 5.5 of a second quicker through Sector 2. That alone, I think, will put him pole as long as he can nail the final 2 corners here. In through turn 9, the Jacques Rindt corner, and then turn 10 after that. Let's see what he's got. Yeah, I think he's held it pretty well there, especially on exit of 10. That's really pretty. And across the line for Cam Tissel, 104.644. And despite being 0.5 clear through Sector 2, he's only actually outdone Gab by about 7/100ths of a second. So very close margins here amongst the top of the table. We do have Noganator on his way into the pits. Damn Sam, however, I believe has just finished one, although I'm not sure he's improved. He appears to have invalidated here. I'm not sure if that was his out lap just now, or his cooldown lap potentially, or was that his time lap and he's done it this and next. Couldn't quite tell you. Electric Blade on an out lap, making his way into turn 9 now. Andrew Mason making his way down the hill, heading towards turn number 4. We've got Brett Drives Fast, also on his way towards turn 4. Adeltonian, I believe, going to be on his way to the pits here shortly. I don't believe it's going to be a flyer from him unless is he going to start a new one here. We've got 2.5 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. Still a lot of drivers, I think, could theoretically get themselves on this pole position. Cam Tissel definitely there, Gab there, King Pro player there, Noganator there, Damn Sam there. I think Electric Blade could get there as well, but he's got to really nail one of these final attempts, and this probably will be his final attempt as well. Only 4/100ths better through Sector 1. That's a little concerning, considering he's got to make up half a second. So making his way now down in towards turn 4. He's got clear track ahead of him as well. That's usually a good place to be, especially on a track like this, a very quick lap. And, you know, there's not a lot of places to really run off as well. It's very difficult to actually find yourself a clean bit of running, especially when you do have, you know, per se, a 20-car grid out there. For the moment, he's not got to worry about that. He's doing quite well. In towards turn number 9 now. Let's see if he's able to improve, get himself onto one of the front 2 rows. Oh, he's taking all the curve through turn 10. Does he keep it together? If he does, it's incredible, and he does go up to 3rd. 104.894, 2.5 of a second. Let me tell you something. He has taken every inch of the inside of turn 10. As nearly, if he didn't have that moment on the outside coming off the corner, he would have absolutely have gone pole there, I think. Very good attempt there from Electric Blade. Ends about 1/4 of a second shy. Gab on an outlap now. Cam Tissel, I believe, will be starting a new one here shortly. We've got about 65 seconds remaining in the session. Minute to go, just about, and there it is. So, only 3 cars. Well, I was going to say Damn Sam now has retired in the pit lane. Andrew Mason making his way out. Just the one car who hasn't retired, now not out on track. That's that of the Noganator. Damn Sam is retired. Knuckles crashed, which we saw coming out of turn 3. Brian Mosser and I believe Frenchie as well have both. No, Frenchie crashed coming out of turn 5. That much we do remember. Somehow Gab has actually kept this lap going. He's gone quite wide there on the exit of turn 1. I would have definitely had thought that he was going to invalidate his time going up through there, because he has had to really back out. And yeah, he's 0.2 of a second slower. That was all due to that mistake going through turn number 1. Cam Tizzle appears to be on a flyer here. Let's see what he's got as he makes his way through turn 4. Next around the line, though, will be the Ferrari of King Pro Player, who has 10 seconds before the qualifying session will end. Will he be able to start another time lap here? Oh, it's going to be very close, isn't it? Across the line for King Pro Player, and he does get it with about 3 seconds to spare, and he's now flying on a flying lap. And the Haas of Anbu Mason can't find anything better, will stay 7th, unless Josh Sr. is able to get him at the line here. Does he? Nope, stays 12th. Well, we've got the Red Bull of Gab, who has invalidated. We've got the V-Carb of Cam Tizzle, who appears to have either be on... well, either way, this is not a quick lap from him. That's the end of it. Electric Blade has invalidated. That's his qualifying session done. It is up to now King Pro Player to take pole position off of Cam Tizzle, or maybe make some room on the front row and get himself there between the V-Carb of Cam Tizzle and the Red Bull of Gab. It's absolutely possible. This is, I would argue, the quickest driver that we've seen in qualifying for the most part. He's currently nearly 0.6 of a second quicker through Sector 2 alone. This is going to be a ridiculous lap here if he can just finish it out cleanly through turns 9 and 10. He just doesn't want to invalidate this final corner coming up here, and he doesn't want to spin the tires getting on acceleration, and he's done neither of that. To the line for King Pro Player, and it's going to be pole position. 104. I believe that said 504. That's a fantastic lap from King Pro Player, your pole sitter. So your starting grid then, it's King Pro atop by 1.5 over Cam Tizzle, Gab 3rd, Electric Blade 4th, Noganator 5th, Damn Sam 6th, Anbu Mason 7th, Brett Drives Fast 8th, 9th is Knuckles, 10th Adeltonian, 11th is Brian Mosser, 12th is Josh Sr., and running out the grid starting P13 is Anna Frenchie. But we've got ourselves some very competitive company here in the top half of the grid. Cam Tizzle within a 1.5, Gab within 2.5 tenths, Electric Blade within 4, Noganator within 6, Damn Sam within 6th, Anbu within 8, and Brett Drives Fast within the 2nd. A lot of competition here, and not a lot of drivers on the grid, which means we could get ourselves a pure, good old-fashioned dogfight for the win of this Austrian Grand Prix. So what we do know is, yep, as you can see, dry race coming up here. That is what Brian Mosser has pinged us for as well earlier in the session, as I'm sure you know by now. Coming up the next 3 rounds, we got a couple of fun ones here. Off to Zandvoort next time out, August 22nd. For the Dutch Grand Prix, we go to Monza the week after that. That should be a fun one. And then off to Miami, September the 5th. 2 very quick tracks there, and then, 2 of which very old style as well. And then Miami, the kind of the newest of the bunch here. Of course, this season doesn't feature that of Las Vegas. We've only visited that track 1 time. I thought it was a fantastic race. People did not really think so, but I did. I thought it was fun. Brian Mosser saying he will go at 55, so we are less than almost 35 seconds away from getting ready to go here. I think the question now, will we have formation lap on or off? There was a time, the past couple of seasons, Brian Mosser just didn't have formation lap on. It didn't really, hurt the proceedings any, but I mean, in fairness, with this, new style of formation lap where it's the interactive parking yourself on the grid, it does get fun to see who can angle themselves toward each other on the grid. Maybe we'll have that, maybe we won't. But if we see the lights start turning on one after another, we'll know we're getting ready to go here. 13 cars on the grid, but I will say, very competitive 13 cars, this. Certainly appears that way, at least. It's looks to me like we might get a fun one here. That is definitely the hope, as we are just moments away from what is the formation lap beginning here. Interested to see the tire strategies here. It looks as if Cam Tizzle, the only one on the grid to have gone hard for this occasion, everybody else has remained medium. Which is quite interesting to me to see Cam Tizzle actually choose to go hard here. You'd think he'd probably go soft, considering that the soft tires, at least in the early runs on this track, are definitely worth their weight in gold. Of course, they'll only last about 7 to 10 laps at a time, but it seems to me like this grid not really concerned with the overall pace of the tire. They know that it's going to be really mono-y-mono the whole way through this Grand Prix, and really they're going to have to be fighting with each other. Strategy is not going to make you positions in a race with only 13 cars. You got to just be able and be willing to get it done on track, and I think maybe that's kind of what the majority of the grid has thought here, aside from Cam Tizzle, who has gone hard, and I'm thinking that's a little bit of a risk. You're starting second, and with, the next 7 drivers behind you being within a second of that pole time, that's a bit of a risk for me. I don't know if I'm usually going to be willing to take that. I don't know. We got plenty of laps of the circuit yet to come here, though. Don't you worry about that. There's going to be plenty of time to race. I think what we're in for 36 laps here should be an absolutely fantastic one, this. Question is, though, King Pro Player. And I'll be honest with you here. I'm never afraid to admit when I'm not familiar with the driver's game. There is a lot of the times I'll join these sessions. I'll have, I'm commentator for 3 leagues at this point. I'll join these divisions, and I just simply won't know who drivers are. I've never seen King Pro Player in a car, but let me tell you this. He has surprised me and has impressed me already so far today. So maybe, do we see more of the same? What I haven't seen already is Cam Tizzle's been disqualified for failing to park in his grid box correctly. 16 to 25. That's your lap pit stop kind of window then for the mediums of the hards. But as we get going here, lights are going to begin to turn on here at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg, Austria for the 6th round of this Division 2 season as Knuckles has jumped the start. Oh, goodness me, what a horrendous error. As underway we go, the Haas of Electric Blade already down to the inside. It's going to be 3 abreast going into the first corner, the Niki Lauda corner. Electric Blade actually does get a little bit jumbled up there. He collides with Cam Tizzle. Gab, I think, kind of got shoved out of position there as Damn Sam now trying to work his way around who is this? It's the Alpine to the inside of the Noganator up the hill into turn number 3. It's a massive conundrum of cars as they make their way through, and it looks as if the real winner is going to be that of King Pro Player. He's gotten away just fine, but a big loser now is going to be that of the Noganator. He has gone around, and it appears he has lost a chunk of his front wing. So for him and Knuckles, this is going to be a horrendously awful opening lap of the Grand Prix here. King Pro Player gets away to a 2.5 advantage over Cam Tizzle, has 6.5 tenths back to Damn Sam. Under pressure, though, from that of Electric Blade. And I tell you what, the pace of those hard tires surprising me quite well here. I'm impressed that he's not actually immediately been swarmed, but once DRS is activated this time by exiting that first corner, it's going to be just a matter of time before we see a lot of movement here. In the top 10. Nearly a collision. Oh, goodness me. Nearly 2 collisions there. Adoltonian was to the inside of Knuckles, and Knuckles needed to get to the inside and serve his drive-through penalty. That was nearly a massive off then between the Sauber and the V-Carb in question. But exiting turn number 1, this is the question at hand now. Do we see big players with DRS, or do we see them, kind of file their way in here and, remain slightly more calm than what we would see? What we do see now, Brian Mosser getting around Josh Senior. I think he has outbraked the Ferrari on the inside, trying it, but the Ferrari's still on the outside. And a little bit of a slide there for Brian Mosser, and he's going to have to try to get that one back up to grips here relatively quickly. It's Damn Sam and Electric Blade as the Haas goes down to the inside and is taking that 3rd spot quite well. As far as positions gained and lost, biggest mover so far is Josh Senior up 3, Damn Sam up 2, Gab down 2, Noganator down 7 on his own error, as well as Knuckles, who had to serve a drive-through penalty for jumping the start. That's very unfortunate in any circumstance, never mind a grid with only 13 cars. Heading into turn number 9 now. Gab is behind Damn Sam by a 10.5 here, and I think we're not really going to see this move be made up the hill into turn 1. We solemnly do see things be made into this first corner, really only if you've got room ahead of you or if you're going to make it about 200 meters before you get to the corner. Otherwise, it's going to be made here, up the hill, through turn 2 and in towards turn 3. Cam Tizzle leads this train and has already found the Haas of Electric Blade around the outside. Behind them, Damn Sam. Is he going to be overtaken by Gab? No, he's going to have to almost late break around Cam Tizzle, nearly collects the 2 cars behind him, as now Andrew Mason getting around Gab here, and I think Gab going to lose this position just based on having to check up for the lockup of that of Damn Sam ahead of him. Not to his own error does Gab lose that position, but Cam Tizzle will lose position on his own error there, as a bit of a lockup and a tank slapper going in through turn 4, as Damn Sam goes around the outside and takes the 3rd spot. So now the question is, does Mwf1 have what it takes to be able to get around and continue improving positions here, or do we see Gab, kind of regain his footing here at the back end of this DRS train and maybe, put in some consistent laps, put in some clean ones, or does he try to go for glory here and make positions on the fly? He's got 0.2 of a second between himself and Mwf1 as Cam Tizzle to the inside of Damn Sam, and yeah, I kind of didn't think he was going to try that one there. A little bit risky with how tight that first corner is, and there's not much braking zone either. It's a very quick corner, that first one, despite the lack of room. Round the outside, going up through turn 2. Cam Tizzle's got that one, is behind him now. It's Mwf1 and Gab, nearly side by side again, but it appears nothing is going to be changed this time. This is allowing Brett Drives Fast back into the picture here. He hasn't really played much of a factor amongst this battle in the top 6 so far. He's actually kind of fallen off of it, about 2.5 seconds. We do have Noganator and Frenchie who battling for the 11th position, as well as Brian Mosser and Adaltonian. And I do hope, for the sake of Adaltonian, who appears to have fallen a couple of positions here. No, he's actually stayed around about that same 10th spot. I do hope, for Adaltonian's sake, he does stay between Brian Mosser and Noganator, because, again, we talked about this before. A couple of seasons ago, we were looking at the 2 quickest drivers in Division 2. Bit of a mistake there for Brian Mosser. 2 guys which furiously battle for a Division 2 title. And let me tell you, even to this day, anytime you get those 2 drivers against each other, Brian Mosser and Noganator, fireworks do fly. 4th of July amounts of fireworks. Oh, look at this! We've just had a collision then between the 2 Saubers, as Adaltonian was being overtaken by Noganator, and I think maybe accidentally was he kind of, not necessarily pushed in towards his teammate, but maybe, did he have a bit of a slip up there and kind of went into him? That's a really close one between the 2 neon green machines of the Saubers. As we see it now, Cam Tizzle within 0.3 of a second of Electric Blade. It'll be hard-pressed to find a move here through turn 4 with how far back he is. He's not going to have it this time. Still has about 0.3 of a second to make up here. But more importantly, the battle really is, and I think this is important, does Cam Tizzle try to conserve as much as he can, and potentially does he have somewhat of an advantage before King Pro Player and the rest of those in the medium tires try to make a stop here? Because for the time being, King Pro already a 2.5 second advantage, and we're only beginning the 6th lap of the Grand Prix. So down the pit straight they go. Cam Tizzle, oh, I tell you what, he did want it on Electric Blade then. He's not really committed to it, I don't think, but he may have it this time. Let's see. Going now through in towards turn number 2, and Cam Tizzle's not going to have that one any problem. Gab now round the inside of Damn Sam, up the hill into turn number 3. Round the outside, oh, again, Sam is locked up, and, well, we've got some wing damage happening there. It was that from Gab, as Damn Sam again, now that's about the 2nd or 3rd time we've seen this happen, where he's gone into the corner, and the brakes have just purely locked up on the back end, and that car's really wanted to go around. And speaking of going round, Electric Blade has done that on Cam Tizzle. Very nicely done, getting the 2nd place back. And Cam Tizzle, we have to say once again, is holding very, very well, despite being on the off-compounded tires. Those hards looking very, very good. But again, as we were saying, Damn Sam has had a couple of these instances into turn 3 specifically, where that car really just wants to go around under braking, and this time it's actually gotten into the Red Bull of Gab and has resulted in that wing damage you see there on the left side of the Red Bull's front wing. He's chosen not to pit, which is probably a smart decision. We're only about 7 laps off the pit window here, and I think he would rather, kind of lose out on spots under strategy, the normal pit window, rather than trying to pit now, ruin your strategy for the rest of the race, even having to replace the front wing. Yeah, it's probably better that he stays out. Cam Tizzle's gotten around Electric Blade. Gab has gotten around Damn Sam. May open the door for Anbu. He's got to really send it. No, he's not going to do that. Anbu's a better driver than that. And again, there it is again. We've just seen, for now what is at least the 2nd or 3rd consecutive lap, that McLaren really wanted to go around under braking. Brian Mosser and Noganator side by side. Oh, what's interesting here, Noganator is actually missing front wing. That's right, that was from the opening lap. He did not ever pit from that. Remember, that was, I believe, either 1st or 2nd lap of the Grand Prix, and he's going around exiting turn 3. We'll go to the inside of Brian Mosser now. Again, very close between the 2. Definitely got to watch out. anytime. And, you know, as a driver, I've experienced this myself with a driver by the name of El Majacco. Sometimes you get a driver that you battle with so constantly, you just can't ever seem to get away from him. And look at this, contact again as Brian Mosser almost goes round there. No love lost between these two, absolutely. And I think, you know, battling for the 9th spot, again, two former drivers who were battling for a Division II driver's title not 5 seasons ago, now find themselves towards the back end of the Division II grid, at least tonight. But still, you always get, you know, 1 or 2 drivers you can't ever get yourself away from, and I think that's just purely the tale between these two, is that no matter what they do, no matter what track they're on, no matter who qualifies where, they end up near each other, and they end up battling, and fireworks come out, and probably make some highlights for a broadcast, that's for sure. But for the time being, Brian Mosser has gotten around Noganator, and this time, that's happened without any hitch. Damn Sam has actually fallen back to the 6th spot now. I'm a little concerned for him. He, you know, initially had gained a couple of spots on the start. I'm thinking maybe is he either, you know, is he missing some pace somewhere, or is he purely playing it conservatively? It could very well be that second option, considering, again, that all but just the one driver of Cam Tizzle on the same, you know, compound of tire. Do we see some guys, you know, see that? And, you know, maybe now think, as we got 2 drivers now picking up 3-second penalties, do we now see drivers who think about, you know, going for overcuts and undercuts and, you know, trying to save their tires as much as they can, knowing that the other 12 drivers around you on the same exact compound of tire, probably the same strategy? That could very well be the case. But what we see now is this, Damn Sam and Ambu Mason trying to get around Gab. Gab has actually, since picking up that wing damage, has fallen quite far behind the rest of the top 3, as Electric Blade has separated himself 2.5 seconds from Gab. Again, Damn Sam nearly having a bit of a moment there going through turn number 3. Again, that's probably about the 4th lap in a row now that we've seen that car just refuse to break in a straight line. Brian Mosser and Noganator again side by side going through 3, side by side still for the time being. We'll go along with Frenchie. Hopefully they keep it clean. Noganator has gotten around his main rival for the time being. Looks like it's going to stay that way, at least through this braking zone. But again, with that wing damage that Noganator has that he picked up on the first lap, I would expect that battle to continue for much longer. About to begin the 10th lap of this Austrian Grand Prix. King Pro Player leads and is now starting to fall back. That part is definitely true. He had about a 2.5 second advantage not all that long ago. He definitely seems to be conserving. He's lost about a second in time back to the second place car, whoever it may be, is side by side now. It's actually that of Gab, who's gone around the outside of Ambu Mason, as now Damn Sam looks to the inside of both the Haas and the Red Bull potentially ahead of him. He's going to block in the Haas here and probably try to send it on Gab up the inside. Does he make it happen? No, not quite. He will at least get Ambu Mason. That was a good move there. Oh, but look at this! And I think he's done that purely on his own, and Damn Sam gets against the barriers exiting turn 3. And that car, hoping hasn't picked up any damage. It doesn't appear that he has, but those tires are absolutely going to be square now as he spins on his own error coming out of turn 3 and has now found himself in a battle for the 8th spot with Josh Sr. It looks as if Brian Mosser, something may have happened with him. Has he potentially pit, because he finds himself now kind of well far behind that of the Noganator? Let's see. No, he has not pit. I think maybe somewhere along the line he has just purely made an error, which has resulted him in falling back to the 12th spot. Remember, he was battling for that 9th spot with Noganator not long ago. King Pro Player, I'm thinking, might actually be conserving fuel here with how quickly he's losing time. I think just a lot of lift and coast potentially. You know, what I was seeing drivers do was actually very interesting. In a different league I casted, we would start to see drivers be within DRS range of the driver ahead and just simply not use DRS. They were saving fuel by not attacking. They were, you know, they had the DRS on to keep themselves within half a second of the car ahead, and then they just wouldn't get around them. They would shut DRS off, be perfectly fine behind them, you know, allow the car ahead of them to keep punching the hole in the air and save the fuel. As Cam Tizzle does get around King Pro Player, and I'm thinking now, maybe do we see a change in how this plays out? We're not at the pit stop window yet. That'll be at around lap 16, I believe. But at least for King Pro Player, we know that he's either really conserving or he's not happy with that Ferrari. And I have to believe that it's got to be the first option, because that car, you know, obviously qualified on pole and had himself a 2.5 second advantage earlier on. This absolutely has to be some sort of tactical reasoning here for the Ferrari. Either way, Cam Tizzle doing his best to set the new fastest lap of the session at a 107, whatever the hell the rest of the number was. Josh Sr. back to Damn Sam here, although it looks as if King Pro Player may have a look at Cam Tizzle here. And nope, he's going to follow right behind in line. He's not quite going to overtake the V-Carb for the time being. He's going to stay quite content in that second position. I think, again, maybe just some sort of conservation effort from him. Very well could be. Knuckles to the inside of Frenchie up through turn 1. This is a bold one. Takes a lot of the curb on the inside, yet he's just simply not going to get the acceleration over the curb. Josh Sr. has actually gone around the outside of Damn Sam this time, going through turn 3, as Knuckles and Frenchie once again now battling with the aid of DRS. It's a 3-car battle. This one nearly getting hairy between the three of them, as still now Brian Mosser having to defend from Frenchie around the outside, as he will at least take the 11th position. But yeah, nearly 2 cars looking at Knuckles there, you know, for that overtake for that 10th spot. Still a 10th and a half between Josh Sr. and Damn Sam. We're officially a third of the way through this Austrian Grand Prix. It's been very entertaining for the time being. I thought we were going to have a bit of a sleeper with only 13 on the grid, but no, we've had some constant entertainment here, as you'll usually find at the Red Bull Ring. I do genuinely think this is one of the best tracks we see on schedule, both virtual and real life. But what's interesting now is that Cam Tizzle has nearly pulled out about an 8.5 of a second gap over that of King Pro Player. That does surprise me. I don't know if he's just genuinely... Can we open the telemetry real quick? I'm very curious to see if this is, you know, genuine, not necessarily sandbagging, but conservation efforts from the Ferrari, or maybe is he just struggling that much? Let's see, how much lift and coast is he performing here? So we'll lift there. Yeah, just the one downshift. Yeah, I think this is just purely strategical. Only about half throttle going through turn 6 and 7. Let's see where he's at through 9. This is a pretty quick corner here. One downshift through 6. I think now he's actually outside of DRS range, so maybe has he either done it too much or is he just actually struggling with this car? He's not even saved up a lot of battery. I think Cam Tizzle may actually just be getting him here. Yeah, a little bit of a struggle going through turn 1. Nothing too bad. He's back on the battery now, up the hill, going through, heading in towards turns 2 and 3, but let's see. I don't know. This is a tough one to figure out there for the Ferrari. I'm not quite sure. What I do know is Mwf1's going to try it to the inside of Gab here. He's not quite going to have it into the corner, but at least knocking on the door of a potential overtake there is the Haas. We've got Josh Sr. within 0.2 of a second of Damn Sam. He's going to be trying it up the inside, going through turn 2. He'll have that one, I would say, relatively easily, as Damn Sam's actually going to try to still peek it around the outside. Nearly some contact between the two there, but Josh Sr. will keep the 7th spot for the time being. As behind them, it does appear that Noganator and Knuckles might be battling here. It's about 4.5 of a second between the two. No real pressure. And I'm thinking maybe it's an interesting situation, this. You know, we're about a lap, 2 laps away from the pit window, as Knuckles and Noganator now side by side. This is through turn 6 and 7. Bold one, as Knuckles, I think, has gone actually genuinely round the outside then. Brent Drives Fast has picked up a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings in our first pit stop of the day. For strategical reasons, goes down to Electric Blade onto those hard tires, and we'll now have about 20 laps of the Red Bull Ring to conquer here on these hard tires. They can definitely do it. And I think Cam Tizzle definitely has to be the baseline for this. I think, you know, it's going to be up to him for those hard tire runners, you know, to decide, you know, how is the car going to be towards the back end of the run, you know, when we get to the 30th lap, 31st, 2nd, or 3rd lap. You know, how are the tires going to react? Knuckles into the pit lane has pit him. He's got his hard tires on. Once again, the two Saubers within close proximity. They nearly had a moment about 10 laps ago. Josh Sr. and Electric Blade for the 6th position. Electric Blade obviously having fallen back since pitting. Drivers still yet to stop here include all the top 5. P7 of Josh Sr., 8th of Noganator, and 9th of Brian Mosser. Everybody else has made at least one stop on the day. It appears that Adeltonian actually stopped initially for the soft tires. That's a little bold. We didn't see that at all. Still the two Saubers battling it out here. Into the pit lane goes Brett Drives Fast from the medium tires. Obviously going to be going to the hards. Electric Blade stays out. Gab's actually been overtaken clean then by Mwf1. So it's a tenth of a second now down in towards turn 4. Gab versus Andrew Mason. They're really side by side here. That one was close. Nearly saw a lot of contact between the two. Thankfully, it's all ended up okay, but this is, again, a very narrow section of the track to go through, and again, there's no runoff. If you go side by side with a car and you make contact and you go wide, your race is going to be tumbling very significantly with the amount of gravel around the outside here. If there was runoff, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but you got to really tread carefully through that second sector especially, as we've seen. And I'm a little surprised we still haven't seen many of these top 10 guys pit. You know, only 3 cars within the top 10 have stopped so far, those 3 being Electric Blade, Brett Drive Fast, and Damn Sim. I'm thinking everybody else, you know, I'm a little surprised we haven't seen them stop yet. Another surprise to why we've seen King Pro Player suddenly, you know, again, I don't think necessarily sandbagging. I think more it's got to be a conservation effort from him. You know, fuel-saving efforts, that would absolutely be my guess. As we've got the pair of the Alpines and the pair of the McLarens into the pit lane now. Sorry, just the one McLaren of Brian Mosser. But, well, it's going to be interesting here because Brett Drives Fast was actually on his way out now, Noganator as well. So we got the Sauber around, and that is going to be that of Adaltonian, who appears to have spun that car coming out of turn number 8. Remember, he was within close proximity of his teammate as well. I'm hoping that nothing significant happened between the 2 green machines, but either way, Adaltonian in this race, unfortunately, going from bad to worse for him. Closest battle on track currently is Andrew Mason, 7.5 tenths of a second back to Gab. These two have been battling for quite some time here in the recent runnings, as we are about halfway through this Grand Prix now. Just a reminder of the penalties applied. We do have a couple of cars with 3-second penalties, that being Gab, Brett Drives Fast, and Damn Sam. 3 cars who have gone over the white line one too many times and have picked up 3 seconds for their troubles. Kind of expecting to see a lot more 3-second penalties today, but not actually the case. As I say that, there goes Frenchie picking up his 3-second penalty, becoming the 4th of the day to pick up, so. Still 8 tenths of a second between Andrew Mason and Gab here, and I'm kind of wondering again, once again, we still haven't seen a lot of these drivers in the top 10 pit. Now just the top 4 remaining haven't stopped, so we are going to see, I would think, kind of these top 4 cars be pitting here probably this time by. King Pro Player definitely one of those cars to be stopping now. Gab not making his way in, but the Haas of Andrew Mason does. Gab has also now just picked up 3 seconds for multiple warnings. So Gab will go up to the 2nd spot, despite now being on 6 seconds of penalty. Electric Blade will set the fastest lap of the session on his hard tires. And now it appears we are just waiting for these couple of cars to stop here. We've got Gab and Cam Tizzle, the only 2 yet to make their trek down pit lane. Closest battle on track does appear to be that of Frenchie to Brian Mosser. It's about a second down of the way between the 2. As coming up in a couple of laps, we've got 15 laps to go. Closing in definitely within the second half of this Grand Prix now. Hopefully we've still got some good action to come here. Although admittedly things have quite mellowed out here. 8 tenths of a second still the gap, because I think now we do finally see the Red Bull of Gab on his way in. He's replacing a front wing as well. Remember, he picked up that front wing damage for an accidental collision with Damn Sam after Damn Sam's car, kind of got away from him in the braking zone up through turn 3 and ended up with a wing damage being had to the front end of the Red Bull. Let's see where our drivers come out here. I'm thinking Gab and Damn Sam might be close here. Yeah, it's, what the hell is happening here? That was a little odd. Well, Frenchie's going to try to get up the inside of Brian Mosser, going up through Nicky Lauda, turn number 1 here. Hopefully this ends cleanly, and Frenchie's going to back out of it in time. Doesn't really want to send it too much on the inside there. I would understand if you do send it, but, you know, battling for an 11th place right now. Still got to finish, still got to get points on the board. And for the time being, Cam Tizzle does have a nearly 21-second gap back to that of Electric Blade. Cam Tizzle has entered the pit lane. I think, will he get out okay here? He's going to be right in this battle amongst the two leaders. King Pro Player, fastest lap of the session, and Cam Tizzle is going to come out on track still in the lead of this Grand Prix. Well, 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 fantastic strategy potentially being played from Cam Tizzle, because he is leading this Grand Prix by 2.5 seconds here and on the better compound of tire. That is a great look there from Cam Tizzle. What we do see now is this. King Pro Player might be looking at a move for Electric Blade, potentially for that second spot. Half a second now, the two, and I think maybe as King Pro Player decided he's had enough of the lift and coast, he can get back to business here and try to get himself a win here in Division 2. As they go through turns 7 and 8 now, the gap has significantly closed down between the two. It's now down to 0.2 of a second as they make their way through now what is turns 9 and 10. Oh, a little bit of a slide there for Electric Blade. Nearly allowed King Pro Player to the inside, but King Pro backed off smartly. Oh, but look at this. He's gotten right up against the back of Electric Blade and across the line, and King Pro Player will take the second spot back. I think due to a couple of mistakes there by Electric Blade. I'm thinking, though, well, Electric Blade will have DRS. That's a good news from him. As now getting back within reach of the Ferrari here is going to go up the inside, and I think, well, he's definitely going to try to be later on the brakes. Oh, definite contact being made there. I think maybe did Electric Blade go deep. DRS now activated for the Ferrari in question. That battle will be on hold for just a little while. Knuckles now, potentially, will he have a move on Josh Sr. going up through turn number 3? And no, not quite. I thought he was going to be kind of within range to make something happen there, but maybe will he make it going through turn 4? You know, I've been pleasantly surprised. I think all 3 leagues I'm casting now, this being the 3rd out of 3, have all had a race at this Red Bull Ring circuit. And I'm tell you what, I'm very impressed with the amount of overtaking into this fourth corner. King Pro Player. Big news here, 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. That's huge for this battle for the podium. I think now that may not necessarily seal the deal for Electric Blade, but he's got 15 seconds on his teammate, and all he's got to do is stay within striking distance of King Pro Player, and I tell you what, he'll have himself second place. Though still a lot of racing left, and I'm sure with enough luck and the racing god shining down on us, we may get gifted with a safety car and get this field back bunched up and ready to go coming up towards the final 10 laps of this race. Up the hill through turn 1, Knuckles, oh, into the back of Josh Sr. Well, I thought it was happening there. Commentary curse, definitely real. Commentary speaking it into existence, that can be real sometimes as well. As now up the hill into turn number 3, and Knuckles is not going to try it this time. I think he's kind of realized he sent it a little too hard the time prior, and he doesn't want to, because there comes a point as a driver, you know what I mean? You try one move, might be looked at like a little bit risky, like Knuckles just did going through turn number 1. You might be looked at like that's a bit of a risky move there. You make a couple of those in a row, you look desperate. Knuckles playing it kind of smart, knowing that, no malintention. He'll definitely try to get him again here shortly. I don't think any damage has been made, at least visibly between the two cars. So, Knuckles, letting it simmer for now. He'll be able to strike back at him, I think, going up through turn 3. But, these drivers here, and I have to say this as well, one of the cleanest leagues that I've, commentated over the seasons. This is, I've been along since the inception of Division 2. That was back season 2 of the season. This is season 13 now. I've casted all but just season 1 and season 7 as Knuckles up the outside of Josh Sr. This is probably the cleanest league I've ever casted. And these drivers have such a camaraderie with each other that they understand, when things happen, when things are done, more in desperation. They're definitely willing to fess up when they make mistakes as well. Definitely the camaraderie in this league is second to none. As Electric Blade now, hang on just a minute here. Electric Blade, who, by the way, has fallen outside of now 3 seconds almost on King Pro Player. now has a 3-second penalty to his name. Remember how I was talking earlier about the commentary curse? That's definitely part of it there, because I thought Electric Blade was going to have second place sealed, and he hasn't. Apologies, Electric Blade. You've just been absolutely fucked by me. Anyways, going up through turn number 1 now. Gab 0.2 of a second here to the back end of Brett Drives Fast. Here he goes. Going to try the left-hand side. Not quite going to have it. He'll peek to the inside. Oh, and I'm a little surprised he's not gone for that one there. That looked like it was definitely attainable by the Red Bull. I'm a little surprised he's not quite gone for that. You know, he is on 6 seconds of penalty. I think that's another thing as well. You know, he knows that he's not going to get him based on penalty. He's really got to try to get around him cleanly and then put, you know, an additional 3 seconds back to him. I think that's a task in its own. So I think Gab, you know, trying the bit of an easier route there. But Josh Sr. now around the outside of Knuckles, this being down the hill into turn 4. And Knuckles is going to try to strike back here on the inside. No, not quite. Although Damn Sam now up to 9 seconds of penalty. Currently the highest penalty total of the day belongs to the McLaren of Damn Sam, who for the time being only has about half a second to the good back to Josh Sr. That's a bit risky. So at the line this next time by will be 10 laps to go. We've had ourselves, you know, despite, again, only 13 cars in the grid, we've had ourselves a fantastic Grand Prix this, as Gab to the inside of Brett Drives Fast. And, yep, I think there it's going to be. And especially now, because now Gab gets to have the DRS, I think, to the back marker ahead of him. That's Adoltonian. And he does get around him. I think he will have DRS. Yes, he does. He has DRS to get around the back marker, so that's going to help him significantly. Exiting turn 6 and 7, Gab now has to try to put 3 seconds back to Brett Drives Fast. That may be a little bit of a task, that one. Knuckles and Josh Sr. still battling it out. We've got 10 laps to go here in this Austrian Grand Prix. Reminder, coming up next week that we head to the Zandvoort circuit in the Netherlands for what should be a fun one. We've also got Monza. I don't believe the new and improved Monza. They have made quite some changes to that circuit this year in preparation for the Grand Prix. We've had a couple of chicanes been widened. Should be fun. Those changes not put in the game, however, so it's back to the classic Monza that we have known and loved for quite some time. Still should be a fantastic Grand Prix nonetheless. Less than 10 laps to go now. Knuckles, does he try the inside of Josh Sr.? That's the move he's going to try to make up the hill. Going to have to outbrake him here along that right rear wheel. Only just the slightest bit of contact there. And I tell you what, Knuckles nearly lost the car, similar to how he did in the qualifying session, just trying to get back on the throttle. That was nearly quite risky from him. Now currently the closest battle on track, still 0.6 of a second between the two. I will say this for Cam Tizzle, for Knuckles, a good rebound. This would be, you know, started the race, you know, that 9th spot, had to serve a drive-through penalty for jumping the start. If he makes it back and finishes in that 9th spot, or even if he somehow finds a way around Josh Sr. claims 8th, that's going to be a great day for Knuckles with how it started for him. That's definitely for sure. I am 100% guaranteeing of that. As they make their way now, exiting turn number 1, Josh Sr. will lead them up the hill, going through turn number 2 and 3. Knuckles going to try the inside. I think he's going to be alongside him enough this time. Side by side, definite contact there, and I'm thinking maybe does Knuckles now have a bit of wing damage to his name, because that one was visible. We saw carbon fiber fly in the air after that one. Yeah, that one was a little... I didn't really think it was that much of a send from Knuckles, really. I thought, you know, that was pretty valid enough to be in a good position, but I guess not really. I don't know, a little odd. Well, he's now outside of a second on Josh Sr. Question is now, can Cam Tizzle still hold off King Pro Player, the car who is really reeling in? Cam Tizzle trying his best. I know he's got 3 seconds of penalty, and he's only going to have, 5 laps to go coming up in a little bit. He's really running out of time. It's interesting now, that gap has closed down to about 2 seconds. King Pro Player, I think he's definitely trying to reel him in, and what we do have, because Knuckles has gotten back within position on Josh Sr. I don't know if potentially there was a mistake from the the Ferrari in question. Damn Sam has now picked up an additional 3-second penalty, up to 12 for him. Down the pit straight they go, 6.5 tenths of a second here, and Knuckles still really not close enough for the time being to find a way around Josh Sr., although he's definitely on his way. Tell you what here, we might have ourselves a very good battle to the finish between these two, considering how close it is, 4 tenths of a second heading down into turn 4. But the big question on my mind, Cam Tizzle only has a second, 1.7 seconds between himself and that of King Pro Player. Of course, King Pro Player has that 3-second penalty to try to get around, but I'm actually very convinced that he probably could do it. We do just have, I think Gab picked up another 3-second there. Oh, well, Knuckles has now picked up one. I don't know, I think King Pro Player may have tried to play this a little bit more conservatively than he maybe should have. We'll try it around the outside now as Knuckles on Josh Sr. He may get it. And yeah, he's done that one very nicely around the outside from turn 1. Great stuff there from Knuckles. Hopefully he'll be able to keep it, with now 5 laps to go. We do have Gab now within 7.5, 8 tenths of a second of Andrew Mason once again for that 4th spot. Oh, as we have a yellow flag. That is the Ferrari of Josh Sr. has gone round exiting turn 3. He's lost the front wing. And wouldn't you know it, I've spoken a safety car into existence, and it's absolutely happened. Oh, goodness me, that is gonna be... Well, the thing is now, it's an interesting way to think, because Cam Tizzle, that gap is now going to be no longer existent between himself and that of King Pro Player. The problem is I think, the 3 or 4 laps that they will have back in green flag conditions, that's probably not going to be enough for King Pro Player to actually be able to put, an additional 3 seconds round Cam Tizzle, never mind having to, actually overtake him and get round him. Yeah, I tell you what, this is a interesting scenario we have now, because genuinely I think... Oh, look at this. I didn't see this coming. Cam Tizzle has entered the pit lane. King Pro Player will follow suit. That's huge. But Cam Tizzle enters the pit lane. We have 4 laps to go. It's going to be onto the soft tires, absolutely. That much we do know, as well as that for King Pro Player. But we are in a situation now where it is going to be an all-out battle to the finish here. Of course, we do have a lot of these drivers on time penalties. Let's get that clear first. But if all of them are on time penalty, then we're not that far off, are we? We're actually in a pretty halfway decent position. The question is really, do we see King Pro Player be able to get around Cam Tizzle and actually be able to put time behind him once he does get around him? That is a huge question. I'm not sure. It's a really tough ask. So, beginning the 34th lap of the Grand Prix, we may only genuinely have 2 laps of racing once we get back going here, and that is just not going to be enough for King Pro Player, I don't think, to be able to claim a win here. I think, he's gotten himself in a fantastic position. I think he's just played it slightly too conservatively at times. Maybe as he just really underfueled the car, and that's why he's had to do it. He's picked up the 3-second penalty as well. That's not helped. But at least the good news is that that's allowed Electric Blade to once again battle, outright with that of King Pro Player. That's allowed Mwf1 now to fight for genuinely a podium here. I mean, all goes correctly. We could be looking at a double podium for the Haas team. I think Josh Sr. and Brian Moss are going to move up quite some positions. That'll be good for them. They've just got to keep it clean, though, off the start. That's the big question. But the safety car will be in at the end of this lap. We are just waiting for that of Adeltonian to catch the... sorry, not Adeltonian, Frenchie, to catch the back end of the grid. He's exiting the pit lane now, going up the hill through turns 2 and 3. What is that? The Alpine of Noganator, Josh Sr., and Brian Mosser have all caught up to the grid. So everybody that is really in this race is back where they need to be. Frenchie, I think, could very well be in this as well, but the 3-second penalty wouldn't have helped him, and he's also got still about half a track left before he's actually able to collect the grid here. But Cam Tizzle, taking as much time as he can. The safety car is in the pit lane. Cam Tizzle can start this whenever he likes, and he's going to choose it now. Maybe has he caught King Pro Player sleeping just a little bit. Through the final couple of corners, 2 laps to go here at the Red Bull Ring, as Cam Tizzle leads the way up the hill. He's got King Pro Player right alongside him. Again, King Pro Player has to get round Cam Tizzle and then put 3 seconds back to the V-Carb in order to win this Grand Prix. And again, he's going to have pressure from Electric Blade. Cam Tizzle tries the outside as he's trying to break the toe of the Ferrari behind him. As Electric Blade, not really in position on the Ferrari here. He's got to get going. He's kind of going to break late there, close the gap as much as he can, but still not really there. The question is now, is Mwf1, is he going to be able to stay within gap of the top 3 here, and get himself on the podium with penalties applied? But he's got to hold off Gab first, as Gab's going to want to send this down to the inside. He's not quite going to be there enough to make it happen. But still, Cam Tizzle has stayed ahead of King Pro Player. He's got turn 6 and 7 and 8 coming up here shortly. He's got about a lap left, so just a little bit more than a lap left of this Red Bull Ring to claim a win here in Division 2. King Pro Player really close behind him, but Cam Tizzle, all he needs to do is to be able to stay within 3 seconds a gap of King Pro Player and not pick up a penalty, as Gab can't do that. He'll be up to 9 seconds now. Well, final lap of the Grand Prix underway. Cam Tizzle chooses the inside. Can't quite get it. He'll have to defend from King Pro Player, who will have DRS going up the hill. That DRS will be activated now. The question is Electric Blade, does he try to sneak himself in here and genuinely be able to get around King Pro Player for that second spot? King Pro's going to dive way down to the inside. Electric Blade trying around the outside. He'll switch back to the inside. As they exit turn number 3, a little bit of contact there. Nothing really in it. Cam Tizzle has gotten away well. The battle now is definitely between 2nd and 3rd of King Pro Player, and Electric Blade is down the hill into turn 4. Is Electric Blade going to get him? It looks initially like he may. There's a little bit of contact there, but nothing really to complain about, I think, from either driver. Electric Blade has gotten around King Pro Player, and that could absolutely seal the deal for 2nd place. The question is now, is Mwf1 still within gap enough to stay and get himself on the podium and a double podium for the Haas team? That is the big question. But the real answer, what we're finding here, is this. Cam Tizzle, the only driver in the beginning of the Grand Prix to have started on the hard tires. Everybody else went medium. Cam Tizzle went hard in the paint, and he will win the Austrian Grand Prix. Electric Blade finishes 2nd, and it will end up... Oh, look at this. Anbu's gotten his teammate as well. So yes, it will be the double podium for the Haas team, but it will be Mwf1 in 2nd place, Electric Blade 3rd, King Pro Player ends up 4th, Knuckles 5th, Brett 6th, Brian Mosser 7th, 8th is Josh Sr., 9th Noganator, and 10th, somebody else there. I forgot by the time I could get to it. We'll go over that in a second, don't you worry. Mwf1 driver of the day, I have to agree. So here it is then, your results after it's all said and done here in Austria. Cam Tizzle taking the win. Andrew Mason second and Electric Blade third. Double podium for the Haas team. Fourth is King Pro Player. Great race from him nonetheless. Knuckles fifth. Fantastic from him despite having the drive-through penalty off the start. Brett drives fast sixth. Brian Monster seventh. Josh Sr. eighth. Ninth is Noganator. 10th is Gab. 11th is Damn Sam. Rounding out the grid, 12th and 13th is the pair of the Saubers. Well, despite only having 13 drivers, that was a very fun one here. Thank you for joining us. Next time out, we head to the Zandvoort circuit in the Netherlands for round number 7 of this Division 2 season hotspot. It's been a pleasure joining you once again here. Thank you all for joining. And yeah, we'll see you next week.